My dear young friends, we're coming to Ash Wednesday and the beginning of Lent. And on Ash Wednesday, Catholics all over the world receive ashes on their foreheads as an act of humility before God, as a sign of sorrow for their sins and a pledge of their serious commitment to make the season of Lent a very important spiritual moment for them. I kind of play a wee game on Ash Wednesday. I've always done it. I try to keep the sign of the ashes on my forehead for as long as I can. I don't wipe them off. And you see people walking about with a dark smudge on their foreheads during Ash Wednesday. And even in today's world, which isn't particularly religious, many people still recognise that mark on our heads. They may not know what it means, or they don't know in detail, but they know it's something to do with God, and it's something to do with a desire for us to be a better person, a more authentic person. They may even know it's about a special time of year that leads to Good Friday and Easter Sunday, to the death of Jesus and the resurrection of Jesus, moments of great religious significance. So, getting our ashes can be really a moment of witness, a little act of evangelization and of spreading the gospel. So let me say to you, Ash Wednesday's coming. Go to Mass on Ash Wednesday. Get your ashes. Don't wipe them off too soon. And let them be seen for the glory of God. The 40 days of Lent are modelled on the 40 days that Jesus spent in the desert fasting and praying before he began his public ministry. And it's Catholic practice to take on a Lenten penance and to try to maintain that penance as faithfully as possible for the whole 6 weeks of Lent. And Jesus himself gives us a very important guide to penance, to what that penance is. And it's usually understood as prayer, fasting, and almsgiving or charitable giving. And I would say to you to try and shape your Lenten practice around prayer, fasting, and almsgiving. Prayer really does enhance our relationship with God, because it's time spent in the presence of God, and it makes us more receptive to God. It increases our holiness. It increases the holiness of the whole church. It unites us. Prayer unites us to God and to our brothers and sisters in faith. So it's important, or it would be great if you could try and dedicate some more time to prayer during Lent. The greatest prayer, of course, that the church has is the Mass, the Eucharist. And Jesus told his apostles, do this in memory of me. And I really think if we don't go to Mass, we're really missing out on something very important. So I would say to you, please go to Mass. And priests often remark that they would love to see more teenagers and young people at Sunday Mass. And maybe this Lent that can become a reality, not just for the 6 weeks of Lent, but for always, for the whole year. Fasting. What does fasting do? Fasting helps us to curb our greed and to be more moderate with food and drink, and to be more respectful to God's creation and to the environment, something which is quite high on today's social agenda. And fasting itself really is quite fashionable. It's a wee bit woke, actually. fasting because it's used to be a means of purifying our bodies for losing weight and for getting physically fit. And these are possibly all good things, but a true Lenten and religious fast has a different purpose. Fasting strips us of the barriers and baggage that stop us living more deeply in the presence of God and seeing our neighbour as our brothers and sisters and the world as it truly is. So fasting, you can see that these prayers, these practices, prayer, fasting, and as in a moment I'll say almsgiving, they all kind of coalesce into one another. They're all about God, about our neighbour, and about the world. Almsgiving directly aims to repair our relationship with our neighbour. Jesus said we should love God above all things and our neighbour as ourselves. And we can't claim to love God if we're deaf to the cry of the poor. I think young people really get that. And there are many people who would benefit from our charity and our charitable giving, our almsgiving. There are many worthy causes that deserve our support. So I invite you then to choose penances for Lent from all three of these categories: prayer, fasting, and almsgiving. And if I can call it a challenge, I challenge you to do 3 penances, not just one, do 3, and be serious about them. I did say that the 40 days of Lent is modelled on the 40 days that Jesus spent in the desert. What I didn't say is that during these 40 days, Jesus fought against the devil and his temptations. This is really quite dramatic, but I think it's very important. The devil knew Jesus was the Son of God. The devil knew he had come to save the world from sin. So the devil tried to sway Jesus away from his mission with promises of plenty and power. But Jesus resisted, fought off the devil's temptation, and came out of the desert proclaiming the coming of God's kingdom. You might think that's a bit of a fairy tale, but it's not. In his human nature, Jesus was tempted by the same things that the devil tempts us with: the satisfaction of our needs and ambitions to the detriment of others and of the world, and in defiance of God. And if Jesus had given in to that, do you think he would have taken the road that led to his passion and death? He could have had anything: money, every pleasure and passion and great power. So it was war, really. The devil waged war in Jesus, a war that went on right to the foot of the cross. And the devil, through many temptations, wages war on us and draws us away from God and from our neighbour. And that's why Lent is called in the liturgy and in the Mass, it's called spiritual warfare. It's not easy, and it's not meant to be. It would be no good if it was a dawdle. We would not grow in union with God. We would not love others with a selfless love. We would not resist the temptations to sin that are all around us. Jesus resisted the devil's temptations and stayed faithful to his Father and to the mystery of God's endless love. He died on the cross on Good Friday and rose to glory on the 3rd day. And that's where Lent leads us, to pick up our cross and follow Jesus, and to lead a life that is full of love of God and of our neighbour. My dear young friends, we will stumble and fall sometimes. We are prone to sin. That is why we have the season of Lent. to renew our faith and to strengthen our resolve through the Lenten discipline of prayer, fasting and almsgiving. I hope you have a blessed Lent, and let's pray for one another.